Jets, strangely close to Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is that you? Beat the Chiefs. Show me. If the Broncos and Russell Wilson can show me that they can beat the Chiefs, then I will start believing.
The crowd up. And so are this defense, and Kansas City won't snap the ball again. The Denver Broncos have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs.
David Montgomery on the Lions, former Bear, gonna make this his revenge game for sure. David Montgomery gets the touchdown that ices the game. No! And there's a flag. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. Snap. Hold. Kick.
Denver wins! Denver wins! Let's go!
They open. No!
What happened? Oh shit.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Only Football Tonight. It is AFC South division predictions. We're continuing the division predictions, Kyle and I, this week. I think we're about to end the AFC, wrapping it up here. We still have the AFC East, but we're almost wrapping up the AFC. But we're going to do the Titans, the Texans, the Colts, and the Jaguars, of course. So stick right here while Kyle and I predict the AFC South. Oh, let's get it.
Up, rolling right, throwing back at the end zone. Cortland Sutton, touchdown, Denver!
Rolling right, throws deep. God, touchdown! Come on! Oh my God, touchdown! Come on! Under pressure, Caleb throws in the end zone and Kamek catches it. Oh my God! Oh my God! Touchdown!
Oh my God!
Oh my freaking God!
They kicked a game-losing field goal. I've never seen this before. They kicked a field goal as time expired, so they would lose by 7 instead of 10.
And the offense is out there right now. Are we going for it, Ben? Snap, hold, kick.
Denver's going to the AFC Championship!
Denver.
Let's go!
It's just hilarious because, like, there is no penalty. The game's over, you know? That's all he knows to do. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an action-packed filled episode of Only Football. I'm Kyle, and that's Rick.
I'm Rick, that's Kyle.
This is the AFC South, ladies and gentlemen. The AFC has made a complete 360. I just saw a stand-up comedian that was talking about his girlfriend, saying this girl that she knew, a friend, went to rehab, turned her life around, and she said she did a full 360.
Oh, so right back to drugs. Got it.
So, right, we want to do a 180, but in our case, we did I would say a 360 because we hit all four, and we're gonna go in order from worst. Go ahead.
I was gonna say real quick. I'm sorry, Kyle. I'm sorry. Real quick, just because we have Crafty and Ginger in the chat, by the way. What's up, boys?
Our boys are back.
Our boys are back. That intro, I want to give props to Kyle real quick because I know Ginger on the last stream last week was like, "Oh, new intro," and obviously Crafty hasn't been in one of the streams in a bit, as he was saying in the comment. Credit to Kyle because he caught some of our best moments from last season, and like the one with me with the Bears playoff catch, and I was like, God, every time I watch this intro now, I'm just like, the emotions I feel from that are just at an all-time high. So credit to Kyle. I know Ginger and Crafty haven't been here, or Crafty hasn't been here in a while, and Ginger has just seen it for the second time. So I wanted to let you guys know it's that to me, that intro is so sick.
I feel that because I was rewatching the Broncos Bills playoff, my stream of
Mm-hmm.
the divisional round, and like just rewatching it, like brought back like the emotions. And you know what I
Yeah.
realized watching? I needed at the end of the game, like my commentary was almost nothing. My play-by-play was almost nothing. And like I was thinking, oh, you know what? I'll clip the go-ahead touchdown to Marvin Mims with 40 seconds left when Bo Nix bombed it to the corner, perfect pass.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I can't imagine what my reaction was. You know what it was, Rick? It was this. I was afraid to get excited until it was confirmed. By the time,
No,
by,
I feel that. I feel
yeah,
that.
by
Yeah.
the time it was confirmed, like the emotions, I've already kind of, I saw the replay like 10 times. There was no moment that I could clip. And I just thought how it's funny. Like, I can get clips from the Giants game and regular season games, but the
Yeah.
more important they got,
Yeah.
the more like uh like crippled I became in
Yeah.
fear, you know?
It has to be for you. I have noticed it over the years. Like it has to be a clear cut, no type of like gray area, like big moment. Like that was a sack. It's not going to be a flag. There's nothing like that. Or the Marvin Mims touchdown. Like there, like it was a touchdown. Like oh, but is there pass interference? Oh, did he do this? Do that? So I feel that because it's like those games. Specifically the Rams Bears playoff game from last season. In those moments, everything is just so like heightened. The importance,
Yes.
the feelings you have because it's your team, and then when a big moment like that happens, I can totally see why part of you is like, I have to wait a second before.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
because it's like that's either a confirmed touchdown or your season's over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when the stakes are that high, it's like there's a lot at stake on this play. So I can't just
100%.
willy-nilly be excited when that's looming over the corner as a possibility. All right. Well, one of the
Yep.
teams that did not play. Oh, by the way, rest in peace to the great Dolly Parton.
Oh,
Uh,
yes. Yeah.
Here in Nashville, Tennessee, I can tell you that this was a look, not a big part of my life in any way. Besides the women in my family love Dolly Parton, but outside of that, I don't really have. I mean, I liked Hannah Montana growing up, and I know that that's Miley Cyrus's godmother.
Hmm.
But outside of that, that's pretty much it. But this city, man, it is like, whoa. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like the city lost. It feels like everybody in this city that's from here
Hmm.
lost their grandmother, and
I bet.
it's been really interesting, like just kind of seeing the city experience that because I've never really lived in a city where a celebrity was that important to the city.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now I bring this up because Nashville has a lot of things up and coming right now. One of the things is the Super Bowl is going to be hosted in 2030, and the other thing is this is the last season they're going to play in their current stadium. Um,
Oh.
so this is just like a subtle reminder, like, I feel like we do the podcast, but it's like I am in this city and I am experiencing
Yeah.
what, is
Yep.
happening in this city,
Yep.
the good, the bad, the ugly. Um, and I think I can appreciate the Titans and what they're trying to do. The problem is they seemed last year like they were so far from accomplishing their goals. And
Hmm.
when the Broncos played the Titans week 1, that was the home opener and the season opener. I remember I walked away from that game going, okay, look, the Titans, I don't think they're a playoff team, but I think Cam Ward is going to be a guy, and I'm going to
Yeah.
stand on that and double down on it. This guy's good. I mean, he was thrown one of the most difficult defenses in the NFL week 1, and I thought he handled himself extremely well, and he
Hmm.
holds himself to a really high standard. He's a natural leader, and that's what you need out of that position. Like some quarterbacks are like really cliche leaders, and it's like, do you really buy in, or is it like a Mendoza thing where it's like kind of cringy, kind of corny, but it's like
That dude's a
all right,
walking LinkedIn.
yeah, but it's like exactly. But it's like, okay, but if you go out and you play really good, then we'll buy in. But other guys, people will buy in before the results. And I think Cam Ward's like one of those leaders. I feel the same way about Hurts. And I think with all of the turnover happening right now, the Titans aren't as far away as we think. And I don't think it's crazy to say that this team could compete for the division this year.
Hmm.
Now, the moves that they made on defense, all right? Now, they hired Robert Saleh, so we could start
Yep.
there. And
Yep.
last year was one of those years where it was like the Titans could have either been a playoff team or the whole thing could crash and burn, and it crashed and burned. So they replace it with Robert Saleh, and I thought that was an interesting choice considering the fact that it's an offensive league and they're going with a defensive guy that just failed with the Jets. However, I think that we should really take in the context that everything and everyone fails in New York. There's an ownership
Yeah.
cultural problem. You heard Le'Veon Bell say it's very similar to what Plaxico Burress said. Is like it was like being in prison. Every day I woke up and I just thought to myself, "You're a fucking loser." That's
Mm.
what Plaxico Burress said about playing in New York, and Le'Veon Bell said I thought every place was like the Steelers. And then I got to New York and it was like, I mean, it's still a job, but it was like everybody's like on their own regimen. There is no culture
Wow.
there. And it's a really big problem. And Robert Saleh couldn't fix it, especially with the helicopters and Hard Knocks and all the PR and
Yep.
publicity. The whole thing was a clown show. So I'm not ready to say like Saleh's already tried and I don't believe in him. I
Hmm.
think Saleh might be a good coach. And now he has a really good young quarterback with him. The
Hmm.
run defense, I mean, that's what Saleh is known for, is having a great run defense. And he brings in Gus Bradley to be the new
Hmm.
defensive coordinator. So that there's a combined 17 years of coordinator and head coaching experience to the run defense alone. So I think that they've got the best player on the entire team to build around in Jeffrey Simmons, but they
Hmm.
also brought in John Franklin Myers from Denver. And I think Tennessee, now they're going to go with the four-man front as its base unit. Last year, they employed a 3-4. In the previous regime, they were 21st in rushing yards allowed per game. So
Hmm.
total defense, they were 28th. I
Yeah.
expect all of this to drastically improve. And if you remember, there was a lot of games Tennessee was right there, and Cam
Hmm.
Ward was doing his best, and he was out there actually playing better than we give him credit for because they
Yep.
lost, and no one remembers your losses. But think about it, the 28th ranked defense. And now Cam Ward can say, I don't have to be Superman. I can go out there and just do my thing. The running game is going to be better, I believe. They bring in Brian Dable, a coach, a head coach. I mean, the it's like all of the guys that went to bad organizations or didn't have a quarterback got together and said, now is our time. Collectively, we can get this thing done. And they still have Tony Pollard, who I'm not a believer in right
Hmm.
now. Um, honestly, like I feel like his best days are behind him, to
Hmm.
be totally honest. But if there's one thing we know about Dable, it's that he can make Scatabo, he can make all those running back. I feel like the Giants always had a couple good running backs, because Dable
Yeah.
is just a really good schemer when it comes to
Hmm.
like Ben Johnson. Really good at dialing up zone runs and outside runs and getting the Tyja Spears involved, and I think that there could be something there. I don't think they're going to be top 10, but if they could just be 15th, and then you look at the passing game. The offensive line needs to be better. I know that they drafted what's his name in the first round last year, J.C. Latham 2
JC
years
Latham.
ago
Yep.
in 2024. The year before that, they got Peter Skoronski.
Hmm.
So, I mean, in the last three drafts or four drafts, two of their first round picks went to the line.
Hmm.
They also have Lloyd Cushenberry getting released. So they're going to have a new look at the center position. But overall, the the offensive line last year was 64th in pass blocking out of 89 qualifiers.
Oh
So
my God.
this is more context to Cam Ward in a terrible situation.
Yeah.
Bad coach, bad culture, bad defense, and bad offensive line. I mean, no running game. What
Mm-hmm.
what has he got to lay his hat on at the end of the day? And
Yeah.
yet Tennessee was competitive. So all this to say, I think every area of Tennessee improves. Whether you're
Mm-hmm.
talking run game, pass game, line, quarterback, defense, coaches, culture, I think it all is better. And what does that mean? Well, I think it means that we're looking at a team with a mediocre floor and a team where if Cam Ward really takes a step, I mean, remember how we felt about the Commanders before Jaden Daniels went out there and had his
Yup.
rookie season?
Yup.
And all of a sudden we were like, oh, I didn't realize Jaden Daniels was a guy.
Mm-hmm.
We could be in this conversation with Cam Ward at the end of the year. So I don't think it's going to be AFC Championship, but I would not rule out playing in December for that wild card spot.
I like that. I like that take with the coaches who had like a really shitty first head coaching job that you have. Like, let's come together and show them that together our powers can form a really good solid team. Because it's true with Salah, with Dable. Like, Dable at least had more success with the Giants than Salah did with the Jets. And you know, a lot of the stuff with the Jets was what you said, on top of Aaron Rodgers, you know, ACL tearing on the fourth play of his first season. Obviously, the other quarterback that they had, the MILF Hunter guy, him not really working out, and it really being like one pass on a pro day that just blew them out of the water. I also really love Ginger's comment here. He didn't have any playmakers either in regards to Ward on the Titans last season, right? And that's true. He didn't really have any playmakers. I mean, like you had mentioned the running backs, Tony Pollard and oh my God, I'm forgetting the other running back's name
Tyjae
right
Spears.
now. Ty J Spears. Yes, thank you. So who Zach Wilson, yep. Thanks, Ginge. Who did he have to be like, yeah, we can give it to this guy, and he could be kind of a game changer, at least. Like, he can change the pace, he can make the team look better on offense, something. Because when you look at an NFL squad, obviously it's the quarterback that you're looking at to be like, is this team going to be any good? Ward, for everything he was able to do last season in his rookie year, like you said, like, it was impressive, but he didn't have anybody else. It was the Cam Ward show, and that was it. You know, at least with, you know,
Give me
obviously
the
I'm a Bears fan.
Titans.
Oh my God, he's got the Titans winning the division and the Super Bowl. At least with like my Bears, when Caleb Williams came into the Bears organization, like he had DJ Moore, like he had oh my God, who's it running back? I think it was DeAndre Swift, right? Like these guys could make a difference. DJ Moore being the one that could do the most. Cam Ward had nobody. Cam Ward had Calvin Ridley, who seemed to be genuinely disinterested in football, and
Yep.
you know, just he was hurt. You know, there was just too many drops, too much disinterest on his fault, and he did get injured. Fast forward to this offseason, they bring in Wan'Dale Robinson. They drafted Carnell Tate. Calvin Ridley's healthy. Obviously, the running back room is the same as last season, and you hope there's some improvement, at least in terms of production. And you had mentioned the two guys they have on the line, J.C. Latham and Skoronski. Those two picks, both being in the first round, like as a Tennessee Titans fan, you're looking at it and you're like, okay, not a sexy pick, but a very, very necessary one to build that foundation and build it up. Because now, yeah, that is really the only lineman worth a damn, you know, on that offensive line for the Titans. But they're two very good building blocks, especially all the BS surrounding Skoronski prior to the draft. Now, again, the offense, I think, can improve his second year, and especially under Dable with for Cam Ward. I think, like you said, I think the offense is going to improve. I think Dable can absolutely be more of a coordinator than a coach. I mean, we've seen him be a coach for the Giants, and it was just like, sometimes you just cringed at the things he would do, almost kind of like how Sirianni would yell at the Kansas City Chiefs fans. You like that, Chiefs fan? Like
Yeah.
that's lame. That's lame, and it's corny, and it's cringy. Dable did the same thing a lot of the times. So for him to be at a coordinator level, I think is the right move for him. And he is going to have so much fun with Cam Ward and being able to scheme things up
Ooh.
for this offense. So much fun.
Well, Carnell Tate,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's not forget, 4th overall. What wide receivers were picked 4th or higher in the last 10 years? Jamar Chase,
Mm-hmm.
um, Jalen Waddle.
Jalen
Um,
Waddle. Jay Jettis or no?
I was thinking no, actually.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, he went all the way to like 28 or something like that.
Gotcha.
Don't quote me on that, but I
Yeah.
remember making a
Oh yeah, because the Eagles took
because
Jalen Rager and then Justin Jefferson went the next pick.
I remember going, oh, look at the receivers we could have gotten instead of Jerry Judy, and Justin Jefferson
Oh,
was one of
that's
them.
right.
But all that to
That's
say,
it.
like, I don't know the last time a receiver was picked 4th overall or higher, and he didn't work out. I don't know.
Yeah, true.
I can't name the bust. When it
Yeah.
comes to wide receiver and you're talking about getting picked that high,
Hmm.
it's because you're the guy in the draft. So you're adding him with Calvin Ridley, and I'm telling you, if you guys, I'm not saying Calvin Ridley is in his prime, but I don't know how far out of his prime it is. You mentioned the not feeling interested in football. Well, if that interest comes back and they start winning
Hmm.
and Calvin Ridley has kind of like a George Pickens thing in Dallas, Calvin Ridley's one of, in my opinion, the best route runners in the NFL. And if you can get that Carnell Tate playing at a high level, you're talking about having 2 legit number ones like Dallas has with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. But
Yep.
um, you just can't underestimate, like Peyton Manning's first year with the Colts. You can't underestimate when everything feels impossible, how much easier things are going to feel this year
Hmm.
for Cam Ward. I'm interested to see him go out there and be like, oh my God, everything is easy. Last year, it felt
Ooh.
like I couldn't do anything. Now
Yeah.
we have so it's kind of like you're playing on Madden Road, and now he's going to go out there and play on Pro. I
Yeah.
think the game's going to slow down for him in a big way. But you got anything else on the Titans?
Just the defense, like you said earlier, with Salah there, the defense is gonna clearly improve. Tavondre Sweat is a departure, but John Franklin Myers, Jeffrey Simmons, Jermaine Johnson, who they brought in from that trade with from Tavondre Sweat, and you got people returning. Cody Barton, Cordell Flott is one of their cornerbacks
Cody
that they spent
Barton
money on.
signed my
Cody Barton
nipple.
that signed his nipple. There it is. Yeah, I hope YouTube allows that.
They
But
do.
the
They do. I looked into it.
Okay. I'm glad you looked into nipple play for YouTube lives. But yeah, the defense is going to improve. I don't think it's going to be that much of an improvement. Although I can see them in the lower 20s, low teens in terms of like maybe overall and points and things like that. So, but yeah, the Titans look for an improvement. They've got a lot of good guys in terms of coaching in the facility right now. So hopefully that elevates that entire team. And I agree with what you said about Cam Ward. I'm looking at him to be like, okay, second year, a pretty significant jump.
Who could have predicted that Liam Cohen was one of the best head coaches in that last cycle?
Literally no one, I think.
Nobody. And actually,
Nobody.
Liam Cohen said in a recent interview that his only regret was leaving the Rams to go back to Kentucky to be the play caller, which actually ultimately led to him
Oh.
becoming the head coach for the Jaguars. And the
Hmm.
reason was because the one bad year the Rams had under McVay, I think they won 4 games, or 5 games actually.
Hmm.
And Liam Cohen said, I wish I would have stuck it out with McVay because he's the one that gave me my first shot. And instead, I feel like I left him.
Hmm.
So it shows you, like, I don't know. It's like kind of a cool insight to the kind of guy he is, because I know that I know how he's feeling. Like, I'm a
Hmm.
big loyalty person. Like, if you stick
Hmm.
with me, I'll stick with you. But
And
Liam Cohen
I was
kind
gonna
of
say, I was gonna
go
say
ahead.
real quick, and I think I like it because it shows you that taking a step back, right? And in terms of in this sense, in terms of professional levels, he took a step back to a college level, and now first year head coach with the Jaguars, he won the division and he went to the playoffs. A step back does not necessarily mean you are in the negative. It just means like, hey, I need to recenter myself because now look at the big things that he's accomplishing.
Yeah, and let's talk about some of those accomplishments. So last year, the offense for Jacksonville averaged 27.9 points per game. I find a lot of this highly impressive, and it's not so much the points, which alone the points are impressive, because last year it wasn't really an offensive year. Like, we have years where the offense is kicking defense's ass, and then we have years where the tables turn, and it
Yep.
just goes in waves like that. And right now, defense is really winning the battle, in my opinion. You look at offenses like the Bengals and the Chiefs, and it's a not very many offenses scoring almost 28 points a game. But how did they do it with a running game that was ranked 20th?
Hmm.
They did not have much of a running game last year, and yet they were still able to score almost 28 points. And a lot of this had to do with Trevor Lawrence. A little fantasy
Hmm.
football plug. Don't expect Trevor Lawrence to get you the same points he got last year, because he had like 6 rushing touchdowns inside the red zone
Yep.
that were not designed runs, and
Yep.
it's just not going to happen again.
The
Lamar
one where he
Jackson.
tripped up against Kansas City is the one that comes to mind.
Yes, yes, on
Remember?
prime time.
Yep.
I do. But man, I mean, you talk about the right guy being in the building. You the man, you the man, you the one. Remember that press conference at the end of
Yep.
his year?
Yep.
You the one. And he really is. I mean, he's got that city, he's got the quarterback, he's
Hmm.
got a great receiver in Brian Thomas Jr. It does feel like the Jaguars are one of those teams where it's you're not really talking about them maybe as much as we should be,
Hmm.
considering what they were able to do last year. Um, and now for whatever reason, I don't know if we're expecting a step back. Maybe it's because ETN is gone, and that's
Yeah.
interesting, because I mean, these two, talking about Lawrence and ETN, had been teammates for 8 years, dating back to their time in Clemson. Now, Bashan Tootin and Chris Rodriguez, coming
Hmm.
from the Commanders, are going to battle, and people are saying, "Oh, Tootin's the clear, clear winner here."
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. It's actually interesting, because there's been practices where Rodriguez has gotten, the first team reps, and then
Yeah.
Tootin. So it's really going to just be whichever one of those guys takes the job. But do you really feel like really good about either of them? Well, Tootin, I think you feel like you might have an ace in your back pocket with Tootin. And Rodriguez is great in the red zone on the goal line, but they finished 14-2 in 1999. They had 13 wins last year, so their best finish in 27 years. This is a defense as well that was top ranked against the run. This was one of the reasons that I traded Jonathan Taylor on my team at the end of the year, because they had to play Jags twice at the end of the year. And the Jags' run defense was no joke. I think they only gave up like 60 yards to Jonathan Taylor, who was the best
Wow.
running back all year last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Consistent.
yes, they got a great. They have like the most important things they do well, and I would say running the ball is one of those things they got to figure out how to do better. But overall, you love what they're doing on the run defensive side. You love the pass defense, but that probably has the most room for improvement. Ranked
Hmm.
21st last year against the pass, but
Yeah.
that number is somewhat misleading, because the Jags were often in the lead, which causes teams to, throw the ball heavy and abandon the run game, which also plays into the run defense,
Hmm.
being number one in the league. So you got to take these stats with a grain of salt. Is it sand or salt? Let's just put an end to this. Is it
Salt.
salt? We'll
Salt.
take the stats with a grain of salt, but what we do know is that they are not Denver, Houston, Seattle in the pass defense. I think my bottom line when it comes to Jacksonville this year is that the Jags have a real shot at going to the Super Bowl this year.
Ooh.
I'm not predicting them to, but they are not one of those teams that's like, no, they are not an option. This is not the Titans. You know, they're in that tier of like if you think the Ravens can go this year, you better have Jacksonville in that conversation. That's all I'm saying, because I've seen people taking the Ravens. Nobody I've seen taking Jacksonville. I feel way better about Jacksonville than Baltimore right now.
Wow.
If the Jaguars can address the few gaps that existed last year and actually make adjustments to those, then where does their weakness really lie? I mean, it's kind of crazy to think how fast this turnaround happened, but we saw the same thing in Chicago with Ben Johnson, and this is just one of those teams that people are, you know, this is the last thing I'll say. I don't like predicting regression just because the average over the history of the league says that it's likely a team regresses after having this type of season. The Bears, the Broncos, and the Jags are all being considered prime candidates for regression. The question is why. You can't just predict it because it's like, well, you know, statistically, the odds are in my favor. I don't like that. If you're going to predict a regression, I want to see personnel going out. I want to see head coaches getting, you know, fired, or offensive coordinators getting hired to other head coaching jobs. But in this case, like, I don't see any turnover. Same thing with my team and your team. I think we have 3 teams last year that the league wants to say, hey, that was a fluke. You're not going to be able to repeat it. And in the case of those 3 teams, I don't see regression in the future, at least from where I stand with Jacksonville.
Yeah, and Ben Johnson took those comments and he said something that you're gonna really enjoy, because Kyle, who led the league in points per game in 2013 and still has the record for leading the league in
Peyton
points
Manning,
per game in
Denver
2013.
Broncos.
The Denver Broncos and Peyton Manning, and that's what Ben Johnson said. He said, I want to beat that record. And when you have those comments of regression, it's gonna be tough. When you kind of go back with it like that, I feel like that's confidence, not only that, you know, Ben Johnson has in himself, but he has in his team. Now, getting to the Jaguars, what they accomplished last season was honestly spectacular, and really, like, the regression that the Texans have had over the years, and the Colts for a second there with Daniel Jones, it looked like they were going to be there neck and neck until he got injured. But what Jacksonville was able to do was they were able to win the division, and they took advantage of these things. They took advantage of the Texans' offense not being what it was 2 years ago when Stroud was a rookie. They took advantage of the Colts not necessarily having a backup plan to Daniel Jones going down when they went with Anthony Richardson. And then obviously he got injured as well. But they take advantage of these things. This is the NFL, guys. Shit happens. Whether it is regression, whether it is an injury, it's all about how you can take that advantage and use it to your advantage, right? And the Jacksonville Jaguars did that. Now, take away their run defense and their lack of sacks really last season, and this team is pretty damn good. Like you said, Liam Cohen is a really good head coach as well as offensive coordinator. What he did with this team was outstanding. Obviously, when Jags fans are you know, kind of talking about their team or wanting to know or wanting you to know about their team, it always starts with Trevor Lawrence. And what he did with Trevor Lawrence last season was awesome. I love more of what he was able to do kind of on the fly when we just talked about that Kansas City Chiefs touchdown run that he had where he tripped, got up, and went right in the end zone. Like, I feel like That's kind of what was missing from him. I don't know, maybe a little bit. And that's why he hasn't really gotten back to his near MVP season, a
Yeah.
few seasons ago. So I like what he's doing there. The offense has some guys. Brian Thomas Jr. has got to step it up. I know he had an injury in training camp just recently, but from what I see and hear, it's looking to improve. It doesn't
Have
look
you
to be
seen Travis
serious.
Hunter? Have you seen his body?
No, is he like jacked or something?
Yeah, he put on like 25 pounds of muscle.
Oh yeah, dude. And at corner, I think they're going to use him more at corner this year. If they do not improve in terms of like their pass rush, in terms of getting to the quarterback, this is where a guy like Travis Hunter and his athleticism and now his 25 pounds of muscle can help them and get in hopes of getting coverage sacks, right? Like you're going to be on this guy, you're going to stick to him like glue. The quarterback is going to have no options. Bam! That's when you got Hines Allen or Walker able to get to the quarterback in whatever amount of time they're allowed, right? So I think with Travis Hunter playing more corner, that's going to be able to help them. So the defense needs to improve, on the run and getting to the quarterback, because I think everything else they're doing not bad. They've got some playmakers on both sides. Again, going back to the offense, Brian Thomas Jr. needs to do better from last year. I think he started 14 games or whatever, did not have the year that he had the year prior. So he needs to be a playmaker for sure for this team. Obviously Brenton Strange, he just signed the 3-year deal worth up to like almost 50 million. And then who else was it? Jacoby Myers. That guy needs to step it up too. And then we get to the running back room. You get rid of Travis Etienne. You bring in Rodriguez, and you already have Basil Tutton, however you pronounce it, from last year. This is a very 2000s, early 2000s running back duo, and if that doesn't make any sense, I mean by like a power guy in Rodriguez and a swifty, speedy guy in Tootin. So you kind of got the yin and the yang there. What you would expect is that they would be able to use that to their advantage to improve the running game, like you were saying, right? Like it is kind of a no-name running back room that you got, but if you use them correctly, I mean, you could be looking at a really good, duo there, kind of like you saw with David Montgomery and what's his face in Detroit. Why am I forgetting his name right now? The other running back.
Montgomery
And then
Gibbs.
Gibbs. Thank you, Jahmyr Gibbs. Like I think you could see that with these two guys if they're used correctly. So the running back room is a question mark. The wide receiver room outside of Brian Thomas is basically a question mark. It's just like you need your guy Brian Thomas Jr. to really be that number one. But other than a couple of defensive tweaks, this team can be just as good as last year. And I don't necessarily see a regression either. I think they broke franchise records in terms of like going back-to-back playoffs and in terms of the offense too. So I think they could be just as good, if not that much better. But I think it's going to be a lot of Trevor Lawrence kind of doing what he did last season where, okay, I got to come up with something on the fly because maybe my running backs aren't good and we can't necessarily run the ball right now, or Brian Thomas Jr. isn't doing very well. Whatever the case may be, I think a lot of this is going to be on Trevor Lawrence. This is going to be a huge year for Trevor Lawrence. I feel like there's going to be a lot on his plate and he's going to have to do a lot of things on his own. I'm sure Jags fans are like, please no injuries, please Brian Thomas Jr. come back, and please let this running back room work, because Liam Cohen, you've got a really good coach in Liam Cohen as well as the offensive scheme from him, and Crafty, Mandela effect. I haven't really added any tattoos in a while, so yeah, Mandela effect.
Yeah. One thing to keep in mind is since the Jaguars have come into the league in 1999, they've gone to the playoffs 5 times, but in their last 4 playoff appearances, the following year, they missed the playoffs. So they have had an issue expanding on what they did the previous season, and that includes I think it was 2021 when they went to the AFC Championship game. Then
2018, wasn't it? 2018,
oh, you're right.
2017.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
They had
so
Bortles though too. You know,
yeah,
a lot of these things, a lot of the like, I love that stat, but you've also got to look at like, all right, Bortles was never a quarterback. The guy David
what happened to
Gerard,
him though? He had a good year.
yeah, no, he had a really good year, but it was like they couldn't keep it up. And then David Gerard, like that defense was incredible too, but
Dude,
it was like
David Garrard
Gerard.
was good.
He
Well,
was, but he never kept it
I
consistent. At
mean,
least with Trevor
yeah,
Lawrence, he
I
got some
mean
consistency.
they had Jack Del Rio as head coach. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Leather
like I
jacket.
grew up in Jacksonville, and I remember being at the bowling alley when they beat the Steelers in that wild card game, and it was like David Garrard won that playoff game, and like the city won the Super Bowl. Like
Yeah.
it was like that big of a deal because they were just not selling out. You know, they did their stadium was always empty. They were always losing. So I just think
Mm-hmm.
as far as like the fans go, there's a little bit of mistrust here. Like
Oh yeah.
The Jags need to come out and show the fans, hey, like we're gonna be good now, and this is not a fluke what happened last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's not unreasonable for the fans to feel that way.
Totally.
Um,
Totally.
so finally, we go to the Houston Texans.
We
Okay.
still have the Colts. We still have the Colts.
Well, I just mean I was excited about the Texans.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. I was like, wait. That's three teams. Go ahead, go ahead.
The Houston Texans are an intriguing team to me because you're seeing in a lot of quarterback conversations and tiers that CJ Stroud is being ranked around where Bryce Young is. And some people are even saying if you could pick right now, you know, some people are saying I would go with Bryce Young
Yeah.
just because CJ Stroud has looked so poor
Mm-hmm.
in his last year. But I don't think people are really appreciating the circumstances that CJ Stroud had to play with last year. I mean, last year they had a top five most injured tight end core, top five most injured wide receiver core. The
Mm-hmm.
running game was supposed to be led by Joe Mixon.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Mixon didn't play a single snap for the Texans last year.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they had to go to a fourth round rookie running back in Woody Marks, who came in to be RB1, but he was horrible in pass protection. So not very effective out of the backfield. And then they're like, well, we got to bring in Nick Chubb. And Nick Chubb, who just retired, by the way. And the reason he did that was because he's well beyond his
Really?
prime.
Yeah.
So what'd you say?
I said really. I did not.
Yeah, he
I
retired
never
last
saw
week.
that. Yeah. Wow.
So the circumstances were just terrible. Another factor was that the running game was that Nick Caley, the offensive coordinator who came from the Rams, who installed a run man blocking scheme for the Texans last year, they were supposed to do this new scheme, but last year they ran a zone blocking scheme the previous year. So this, for the offensive linemen, this scheme was completely new. They had to learn this new scheme. They were not well equipped to execute it. The running game was a disaster. So CJ Stroud's basically carrying this offense by himself, and everybody knew when they were going to pass it, and everyone knew when they were going to run it because they were always behind the sticks. They
Mm-hmm.
had nobody to throw it to, no one to protect Stroud, no running game. And I think CJ Stroud, for whatever reason, hasn't really gotten the pass that we've seen other quarterbacks get in down years. For instance, Jalen Hurts last year. And you could say, well, it's because he's won a Super Bowl. But I still think that when you really look back at all of the variables that were going against CJ Stroud last year, the fact that he still had his team even in the playoffs is almost a miracle. And I'm considering how good the defense was. I just think I watched the Texans on national TV with you, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
they can't do anything. Do you remember these
the
games?
the Bucks game. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Like
they like couldn't get a first down. I mean, I just
so
I
bad.
I
It was
think
so
CJ
bad.
Stroud's not getting a fair analyst
Analysis.
thank you.
Yep.
From the fans and the experts, so-called experts, and I think it's crazy that we're all of a sudden saying, well, CJ Stroud, doesn't have a good year this year. He might be done. At the same time, it's one of those leagues where you either put up or we move on. And you only get so many years, and nobody really cares why you're not doing well. All that matters is you're not doing well. I still think any reasonable person, if the CJ Stroud was cut, would be like, oh my God, let me pick him up right now because all of these circumstances were terrible. Let's put him in a good environment. Let's get him some receivers. And you saw that they're going to have their guys back, at least on paper. They got David Montgomery coming in.
Yep.
Now they have a clear number one running back who's really good as a pass catcher, really good in pass protection. I believe averages the most yards per carry, like something crazy like that in the last 5 years. When you go talk about efficiency at the running back position, there's not many better than Montgomery. I mean, he's really that good. And then Woody Marks and all the experience he had last year, he was still a really good pick. You get Nico Collins. You still have my boy Xavier Hutchin, but Tank Dell is back. Hopefully he can stay healthy. Dalton Schultz, healthy. Will Anderson Jr., Daniel Hunter, both going to tear it up on defense. We know what the defense is. I'm not even going to talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
Because the defense is going to be great. And really, if you're talking about predictions, it all comes down to the offense. If you're saying what's going to make or break who the Texans are this year, I have no concerns about whether the defense is going to play Super Bowl caliber football. The question is whether the offense will. And I think that the Texans addressed their biggest issues in the draft, in free agency, and they're going into another year in this new zone scheme run blocking for the offensive line to really get their feet, underneath them. I think Houston's struggles in the, last year, whether you're talking the divisional round or just on a weekly basis, had everything to do with injuries. I think it's that simple. And I think that the fact that they're getting healthy and that I think David Montgomery is a better acquisition than Kenneth Walker in Kansas City. I think this is the move, at the end of the year when you're looking at what were the moves that really changed the most any team. I think David Montgomery is going to be that team. This is a loaded AFC, and this is a loaded division, if we're being quite honest, because the Colts, I mean, you could make an argument that until Daniel Jones went down, they were the team to beat in the entire AFC, period.
Yeah.
And now you got the Jaguars, the Colts, and the Texans all playing really good football right now. It's not going to be an easy division, but the Texans contended every single year, whether the teams were good or bad. It feels like the Texans found a way to win their division and get it done. I think that this is still the team that you got to feel the most confident in just because it's the defense. If you've given me a defense that's going to hold an opponent to 13 points per game, I think that's the safest team always. I would take that over Jacksonville, who's going to give up points, but they're going to score 28. Give me the defense that's going to hold you to 13. That's what I would want every single time. I think that the Texans need to figure out how to finish as not just division champions, but find a way to get home field advantage throughout the playoffs so that they can host some of these football games that are really important and get a chance at number one or at least a number 2 seed. But I think that this is a team that has a more legit shot than even Jacksonville at going to a Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, I fully agree with that take, and a lot of the reason I agree is because of the defense. Now, don't get me wrong. I know for sure that CJ Stroud, I wouldn't say is necessarily feeling pressure, but he knows what he's lacked these last couple of seasons as a quarterback for the Texans, given the fact of how well he played as a rookie. Now, with all that being said, he has got a much more improved offensive line. They had brought in Wyatt Teller, Braden Smith, and they had just drafted Kalen Rutledge. So everybody and their mom knew in the draft that the Texans were going line, and if they didn't, then it would have raised a really big red flag. So for me, the defense is, I have no questions about it. They were where's the first in yards allowed, second in points allowed, and seventh in sacks last year. Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter just got paid. Aziz Al Shair was just in the top 100 players in the NFL. Their defense is the most solid foundational part of that team. And of course, with their head coach, like there's nothing there in those two places that I have a problem with. It is the offense, and it is solely the offense that will always kind of give me question marks. And it all starts with C.J. Stroud. Can he get back to what he was his rookie year? And I like this comment here by Crafty. Stroud looks increasingly gun shy, unsure of himself with each successive year after his rookie season. That was never more apparent to me until last season. And I couldn't agree with the statement more, Crafty. Last season in primetime games, whenever I was watching the Texans, I felt this 100%. I wasn't able to kind of communicate it into words like you just did, but that's exactly what I felt. I was like, why doesn't this guy throw the ball like he was doing, you know? And again, this is a big prove it year for him, and he knows that. Going out of the running room, I like the addition of Montgomery. I just don't know if he has that premier running back title anymore. Like he didn't even start a game last year with I'm forgetting his name, Gibbs. They were always going to be Gibbs running back one, right? Like it was always going to be him. I don't know if David Montgomery necessarily has that right now in terms of like being a legit wide receiver one anymore, or running back one anymore. I think it went to change, Crafty. He's got to get ready for work here soon. So I love David Montgomery. I love how he does all the small things really, really well, like Kyle mentioned with the pass pro. And he's a tough runner too. I don't know how much that's going to improve the running game for him, or for the Houston Texans, I guess I would say exactly. But I still think he can absolutely make more of a difference than Mixon did, right? The wide receiver room, Nico Collins has been getting better almost every season, and it just seems like he's going to get to 1,000 yards per season, whether it's 10 games that he plays in or whether it's all 17. Tank Dell, I got to see it to believe it. This dude's been hurt his last two seasons, his first two seasons in the league. I've got to see him be 1,000-yard receiver and be an impact player all year before I could be like, yeah, Tank Dell is a clear-cut wide receiver too. I got to see it. There's nothing for me to say other than I have to see it. And then Jaden Higgins, after his like really good rookie season last year, he's injured, unfortunately. So they are probably going to look at a guy like your guy, what's his name? Xavier
Hutchinson.
Yeah. So,
I'm hopping in right now.
There you go. So there you go. Like, it's going to be something like him. It's going to be a guy like him that is going to have to take those reps from a Jaden Higgins and see if he can make anything out of it, right? And Kyle is going to join us here right now from his phone once he gives me the thumbs up. So I like the Texans as a possible AFC South contender. It's just, what can the offense do? And let's see, Nick Caley. Oh yeah. So Nick Caley is still the offensive coordinator. Again, we highlighted some of the things, and that's the offensive line having improvements. But again, it all comes down to CJ Stroud. it all comes down to CJ Stroud. Nico Collins can be healthy. Tank Dell can be healthy. Jaden Higgins can be healthy. David Montgomery can have an absolute monster year. But it's all about the quarterback. This is a quarterback-driven league. We all know that. Everybody knows that. That's just how it is. So, can they be a contender? Absolutely. Will they win the division? Oh God, I don't know. I just look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, and honestly, I look at the Colts with Daniel Jones, and I think they're the better option here. But again, with that defense, it could be something that that definitely has a chance. And we got Kyle back, Kyle. So yeah, I like I was saying, I love the defense for the Texans. I love the coaching staff. Maybe Nick Caley in his second year as play caller can do a little bit better. But while I see them as a contender, I don't necessarily see the Texans as a winner by default by any means, because I'm looking at Jacksonville and I'm looking at the Colts as well.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So you got Texans missing?
I don't know. I don't know. Missing the playoffs, maybe, because I think there's few more teams in the AFC that can edge them out for sure.
By the way, how does my audio sound?
Sounds good.
Yeah, this is the new Rode mic.
I love it.
I got it for like interviewing fans at outside the stadium.
Oh, nice.
It I was doing some tests on it where I was like outside of a loud HVAC system talking and you couldn't even hear the fan.
Oh, so it's got like the noise cancellation or whatever.
Yeah, and it has
Oh,
like
nice.
32 gigabytes of floating. I don't know. I'm not really a technology guy,
Yeah.
but it's like the best. So
Hell yeah,
I'm
brother.
gonna be giving you guys some really awesome content.
I love it.
Can you hear me okay?
Oh yeah, we got you, dude. We got you real good.
Okay. So Rick has the Texans missing the postseason.
I've got them right now. I've got them not winning the division. I've got them not winning the AFC South. And I I think like I do think that they can be a contender for it. But last season it seemed like Daniel Jones going down was huge. And again, kind of what I was referring to back with the Jaguars, they took advantage of something like that. And I'm not saying that teams and players are rooting for injuries of star players on other teams. I'm just saying injuries happen. And if you could take advantage of that to help you win the division, I think you're just taking advantage of the situation, right? Any little advantage that you can get, little or big advantage, I think it's going to help them. I think it helped them get into the playoffs as well. So again, like I think looking at the AFC as a whole, I think there's more teams, definitely more
Fair.
teams, especially from the AFC
That's
West.
fair.
Yeah, to be into the playoffs than the Texans at this point. I think we may have lost Kyle here for a sec. Oh, there he is. Kyle, so what do you think about the Colts? Last team in
Sorry
the
about
AFC
that. It's
South.
always a little shaky when you're leaving the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, for sure. Kyle, you got me? Kyle? Kyle. I see you. I just can't hear you if you're talking. Kyle's just dealing with just some technical difficulties. You got me, Kyle? I can't, if you're talking, I can't hear you. I don't know. Maybe it's a connection. Maybe I gotta kick out your other one. Or here, let's see if I could do edit mics. All right. There we go. I hear you
There
now.
we. Yeah, it's always weird when you're leaving the internet Wi-Fi, crossing over to the 5G.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry about that. But yeah, man, bold pick. So you don't have the Texans winning the AFC South, but you have not said yet who
Hmm.
it's going to be, and I have a feeling it's going to be between the Jags and the Colts. Am I right?
I actually have the Bears winning the AFC South. They're going to be so good that they're just going to win another division.
That's how good Liam Cohen is.
Yeah, it's between them two. And the Colts, like last year, Daniel Jones going down. First of all, nobody was taking the Colts seriously with Daniel Jones at quarterback. Let's be honest. It's similar to when the Titans got freaking what's his face Tannehill. Nobody really took them seriously, and then it was like, oh, these guys are doing really really well, and
Yeah.
like you said earlier, it seemed like there was no team in the AFC for a period of time there that could beat the Colts until Daniel Jones got hurt. They have Jonathan Taylor, they had Alec Pierce, and they had Pittman Jr. Pittman Jr. is no longer there, and Alec Pierce got paid and was one of the biggest or one of the best wide receivers when it came to like big plays, right? And that's why he got paid because of his ability to make huge plays at the wide receiver position. Now, Pittman's gone. You've got Alec Pierce there as their number one. Um, and Josh Downs, yeah, he's done pretty nicely for himself. But it's going to be Alec Pierce and it's going to be Tyler Warren. And those are going to be the two guys. Like it is them two, Jonathan Taylor and Daniel Jones. That is going to be their main focus.
And Keenan Allen.
And they did bring in Keenan Allen, didn't they?
Yeah, and
No
I actually
way.
think this Keenan Allen. So you've jumped into the Colts completely, right?
In terms of winning the division or just kind of assessing them?
Just assessing them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they got Keenan Allen, and this is something that Colts fans are actually excited about. At least Pat McAfee was, runs a show in Indianapolis, and he's a Colts fan and program, and he was like, yeah, I mean, I feel like I still got good ball, and he's
Mm-hmm.
one of those guys that feels a lot older than he really is. And of course, he's not going to probably play a full healthy season,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe we're talking about 700 yards, this guy could bring this
Mm-hmm.
year, something like that.
Mm-hmm. And he brings a professionalism also to that room because Bears had him for a year, and that was the first year of Caleb Williams. And similar to what Ginger's saying here, where he had the most catches on third downs, 4 first downs, he can be a guy like that for Daniel Jones if maybe they are covering Alec Pierce a little too much, or Tyler Warren is either struggling or they are on him too. He can be that kind of safety net for quarterbacks who maybe don't necessarily have this like plethora of talent around them in terms of pass catchers, right? Keenan Allen can absolutely be that type of guy where he is just a safety net for the offense in general, not necessarily a quarterback. Daniel Jones has been doing this for a while now too. He's a veteran, so not to take anything away from him, but yeah, Keenan Allen definitely brings that type of safety net kind of vibe with him. Now, when we get to the defense for these guys, obviously at defensive tackle, DeForest Buckner is, there's nothing we can say about him that hasn't already been said. That guy's just a force. We've got to remember mid-season acquisition last year was your boy Sauce Gardner, and then he got injured. So for that secondary is going to be huge that he stays healthy. And then CJ Allen, second round rookie, is more than likely going to start at linebacker. So they're bringing in a guy that can immediately help them in the linebacking core. But yeah, they're going to be looking at this defense to DeForest Buckner and Sauce Gardner and see if the rookie linebacker can do anything. I just the defense is probably the biggest question, as well as other than Tyler Warren and Alec Pierce, who else can they pass it to? Right? Like who else is Daniel Jones going to get it to? Because Jonathan Taylor, there's no question about his ability. I don't think he's slowing down anytime soon either. He's going to continue to just be a force as a running back. So I think it's the defense, and really, if Daniel Jones, for example, gets injured again, what is your backup plan from that? Is it going to be what's his face, the quarterback they drafted? Is it going to be him, or are they going to go another route here? And looking at their depth chart, it's Riley Leonard, who I believe is a rookie, and it's Easton Stick, who we know well from the Chargers, I believe, or the Rams. I forget which LA team he started for a bit there. But Easton Stick and Riley Leonard, other than Anthony Richardson.
Easton Stick?
Mm-hmm.
Jeez,
Sounds like a brand for like bats.
I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah, it's Riley Leonard as a rookie and Easton Stick, and then it's Anthony Richardson who got tired in the middle of a game last year.
Sorry, I just realized there we go. That should be better. My microphone got unplugged.
Oh, you're good. We can hear you pretty well too, so you're good.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Does it sound like it's getting farther away right now? Is it getting louder?
No, not necessarily.
Louder. Okay. Sorry, I'm still learning how to use it. And I believe I hit the record button on accident. It turned my whatever off. But
Oh, okay.
yeah. So I'm not gonna lie. When it comes to the Colts, I'm kind of torn.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part of me that feels like the Colts deserve to be, considered a legit team because of what they did last year. Like, we can't just forget about what they showed us last year. But then at the same time, it does feel like it's a long time ago. And
Yeah.
whenever you have a team that's kind of hot and it's, week 10, I always think of the Steelers that were 10-1 that year, and then they lost like the rest of their games.
Yeah.
But the problem with
weeks in a row.
7 weeks in a row, and like the problem with Daniel Jones getting hurt was, in my opinion, we never got to see the part of the season where they prove, like, hey, this isn't a fluke. It's like they got to that point where it was like, I don't think it's a fluke. Nobody else probably did, but you still are like, all right, well, come December, this is going to be, one of those teams that is like, hey, they just beat the Texans and the Jags, and, they only have one loss, but they didn't get to that part of the season. So we're kind of just stuck with the Steelers at 10-0. And now we have to decide if it was a fluke or not. Well, there's nothing fluky about what Daniel Jones was doing. I mean, when you watch the games, like, Daniel Jones was tearing it up. Like, he was picking defenses apart, including mine. I was at the game. It was very, very impressive.
Yeah.
Watch Daniel Jones play. And I was shocked, but whenever you can run the ball the way they were running it with with Jonathan Taylor, it's like, I mean, sky's the limit, because they were able to control time of possession. But let's not pretend that this was a team that was just running the ball extremely well and not asking Daniel Jones to do all that much. Daniel Jones was doing a lot, and he was doing it really well. Like, he was I think by like week 8, he had like the best completion percentage, one of the best in the league. He was throwing a bunch of touchdowns. His QBR was terrific. Was extremely accurate. I mean, he was amazing. And that's kind of why it's so hard to just accept what we saw, because he was so much better than anybody could have ever predicted.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
now
he was the Tannehill of last season. Yeah.
he was the Tannehill. Oh,
Mhm.
sorry. Did I drop? He was the Tannehill of last season, but I would
Yeah.
argue he was better.
Ooh, yeah. I
He,
like
he
it.
was he was better, and he's coming back from, what's the injury again? Is it an ACL or a Achilles?
Let me double check. It was Daniel Jones 2025 injury. It was a torn right Achilles.
A torn right Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
So Achilles are tough to come back from.
Mm-hmm. He says, God, where was it?
Like,
Fully cleared for training camp ahead of the 2026 season. I don't know if he's actually played in a game. And Jinja, maybe you can help us out with that, seeing as obviously you're the Colts fan, but has he played through it? And like, is there any worry about the injury kind of for the start of the season? But yeah, dude,
yeah,
those are
I
tough.
just like Kirk Cousins. He tore his Achilles. Can you hear
Hmm.
me?
Yep, I got you.
Okay. Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles, and he came back, and let's be real, he was never the same. And then you had Aaron Rodgers tear his Achilles. Like I said, it's always like a 2-year thing. Like that first year, you're just kind of getting your feet underneath you
Hmm.
and feeling comfortable again. Now, it did happen like in the midpoint of the season, maybe a little bit after. So
Yeah, yeah.
time is on his side, but I think it's a little bullish to be out here predicting that Daniel Jones is going to look as good as he looked last year coming off an Achilles. Um,
Yeah.
that to me just seems like a bridge too far.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and that's what Ginger's saying. The local media said it looked like he was moving around, like he was never even injured already. But you know how that goes. Exactly. I like every off season. Once you get into mini camp, what is it? Mini camp, all that stuff, training camp. Every media member is like, "Oh, this guy looks good." Every coach is like, "This guy's the hardest working guy in the room, first in, last out." And it's like, "Wait, you said that about the other guy." But it's always the same thing. But for the most part, like Jen just saying, because he's our Colts fan, he hasn't played any preseason games, but he's been at practice and has been a full go for joint practices. So that is significant. And I also
That's
agree with what you're
concerning to
saying.
me. Why hasn't
Well,
he played?
I guess with all the stuff that happens around training camp, I mean, injuries, I mean, the Bears have gotten like four major, somewhat major injuries. But I think maybe that's why. I think they just want to play it safe, maybe do joint practices where you're not getting hit and not do any preseason. We'll see if he does the last preseason game, but that's significant for Daniel Jones. But I also kind of agree with you, Kyle, where I'm just like, I'd be very, very cautious about him because it is an Achilles and because that rehab can take a while. I think we may have lost Kyle there for a second. Ginger, yeah, they weren't planning on playing him at all in the preseason. He just seems ahead of schedule, anyways, which is a good thing, Ginger, because, again, you out of all of us know how good that team, how good the Colts were last year with him at quarterback. It was good. Like Kyle said earlier, it didn't seem like there was a team in the AFC that could beat them. And he was just playing really, really well. He was playing really, really good ball. But yeah, like you're saying here, have to see it to believe it. Same with Tank Dell with the Texans. Same with Brian Thomas Jr. with the Jags, right? And then for the Tennessee Titans, I mean Cam Ward and really that defense, that defense as well. So have to see it to believe it. There's certain phases of a team, there's certain players of a team that really have to come down to that is how does week 1 through 5 go? Not to say that those are going to be the end all be all for any player, any phase of a team, but it's a very good 5 weeks of like, okay, maybe we're in trouble here. Or maybe we're doing well. So with Daniel Jones, got to see it to believe it. Hopefully nothing happens to him and we can see a full season of him in a Colts uniform. And I know definitely you want to see that, Ginger, because Anthony Richardson is not it, man. Like you tell me, Ginger, but for a quarterback in the middle of a game to be like, I'm taking myself out because I'm tired, you lose every fan's, I should say, respect with that type of comment. Fake an injury, dude. I would rather you be like, oh shit, my hammy, right? Or shit, I think I like, mess with your ankle or like move it around and be like, yo, bring in Riley Leonard, whoever it was that came in, right, for him. That alone, and we shouldn't necessarily be judging him on getting tired because look, I know I'd be tired if I was him, but that's me, not an athlete, not somebody who's been playing football for 20 years or so. That was him, man, and it's tough. So it's not Anthony Richardson. It's got to be Daniel Jones, and if it's not Daniel Jones or if he gets hurt, then I think you guys, the Colts are looking for a quarterback in the draft next year. Yeah, dude, Richardson is cooked. Yeah, unless he proves himself, right? Again, hoping that Daniel Jones plays an entire season as a Colts quarterback, but if something happens and Anthony Richardson has to step in, if he could just be like so much better, then maybe you have a shot there at a guy who can run the ball, at a guy who's got a big arm, and as a guy who's improved in his third year or something like that, right? But yeah, I like the Colts. I like the players. Sauce Gardner needs to stay healthy. Daniel Jones obviously needs to stay healthy, and Jonathan Taylor is just going to be Jonathan Taylor. And hopefully Alec Pierce, kind of putting him in a box as a big time, big play guy. Hopefully he can become a wide receiver one because there's a lot of money. The Colts put a lot of money into him. So hopefully he can really settle into that wide receiver one role. With Keenan Allen on the other side and Josh Downs kind of being that slot guy, so hopefully he can really kind of solidify himself as that number one. Well, I mean, we kind of screwed it over by starting him so early. We knew it was a project and still threw him in there like he shouldn't have. Yeah. Drafting him so high, everybody wants to get in such a rush. You know what? And during that draft, when all of a sudden he was like, oh, well, watch out for Anthony Richardson from Florida. You didn't hear anything else prior to that. And like you said, everyone in the NFL knew he was going to be a project type of quarterback, a raw talent. You got to work with him. And then you start him right away. I don't know whose call that was, whether it was Steichen's or who, the GMs, the owner, whatever. I totally agree with what you said, where you should not have been starting him and you should have gotten a veteran quarterback. And GMs do this, owners do this, where, again, bringing the Bears into this with Caleb Williams. Eberflus, in his last year as the Bears head coach, had Caleb Williams and Tyson Bagent as the only quarterbacks. You're bringing in your number one overall pick, Caleb Williams, into a quarterback room with, no offense to Tyson Bagent at all, but that was his second year. And it wasn't even like he hadn't even started any games or actually he did start, I think, 1 or 2 games because Justin Fields got injured. But you bring him into a very, very, untested room with Tyson Bagent. And you didn't bring in anybody else? Like, at least with Ben Johnson, he's brought in Case Keenum. He brings in these vets who have had 10 plus years because he knows that he's got a young quarterback who needs to learn from the veterans. And Case Keenum is those type of quarterbacks who, they know their role. They know they're in there to mentor this guy and and we got Kyle back to mentor Caleb Williams. But with Anthony Richardson, it was like what are we doing here, right? Like, what are we doing here? And Crafty saying Richardson is the AFC's 9 or JJ McCarthy. They've both shown isolated flashes of potential, but can't stay healthy long enough to get the firsthand experience they need to develop any potential they may have. Could not have said it better myself, Crafty. And that's exactly why Ginger was saying, like, we shouldn't have started this guy. We should have brought in like a Daniel Jones type of person to start over Anthony Richardson. So yeah, I agree.
What was the
So the discussion was mostly, Ginger made a good point about Anthony Richardson. And really what I was saying was you'd hope that Anthony Richardson, if given another opportunity, whether it be to an injury to Daniel Jones or just an opportunity in general, that you hope he can show you something that maybe makes you either want to re-sign him or keep him on as a quarterback, or the Colts, if Daniel Jones for any reason has a bad year, whether it be due to injury or due to just be bad performance, the Colts are going to be looking for a quarterback next season. It's one of those two options. So that's kind of where we were at.
You guys are still believing in Anthony Richardson?
No, I don't. I know because I told Ginger, I was like, every single Colts fan last season lost every ounce of respect or any sort of like belief in Anthony Richardson when in the middle of a game he said, "Yo, I'm tired. I'm out. Take me out."
Yeah, and I just feel like Daniel Jones is just playing so well right now that the only reason you would even talk about it is if he needed to come into the game. But if Daniel Jones gets hurt, like the season's over, and Anthony Richardson could come in and play good, but he's not going to play. Even if he looks good, he's not going to look the way Daniel Jones looked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like he's got to have some huge leap.
It would be astronomical. Like Daniel Jones is playing at such a high level. Like he would come in and maybe if they're a good team, do like a Teddy Bridgewater, like just keep them afloat. Not bad, not good, but like it's not like going into next year they're going to be like, all right, time to move off Daniel Jones. Like he's shown, in my opinion, Daniel Jones has already shown too much. Like I think the Colts have. This is a great question to ask you. I think the Colts have their long-term answer at quarterback. I believe Daniel Jones is their quarterback for the next, I'm going to say 8 years. Where do you stand
30.
with franchise quarterback? Because, ever since Andrew Luck came out of halftime in a preseason game and announced a abrupt retirement, the Colts have not been able to recover. Specifically at that position, they had, Phillip Rivers had a decent year there, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like the future, the guy, like go buy a jersey. You're going to have it for 10 years. They haven't had that. And I feel kind of happy for Colts fans because when did Luck retire? 2008, 19?
Yeah, I think it was 19.
It's so weird. It's like feels so long ago, but I can't even remember when it was. But it's it might be worth asking you, like, do the Colts have their franchise quarterback in your opinion, based off of what you saw last year from Daniel Jones?
If we're literally just going off last year, I do not think so. He got injured. It's an Achilles. It was a non-contact. It wasn't a game, but it was a non-contact Achilles. But he was playing awesome. He was playing awesome for those 8, 9, 10 games, whatever. But do they have a franchise quarterback? I can't say that they do. I really can't, because that's like, I don't know. That's like those, again, bringing it back to the Bears, those delusional Bears fans who were like, re-sign Justin Fields and get a better line for him. All because he ran a 65, 67 yarder against the Dolphins for a touchdown. All because he outran Jeff Okuda from the Detroit Lions for a touchdown. all because he did a really cool slide in the opening season against the 49ers in a monsoon. Like
Awesome slide.
awesome slide, awesome highlights, but
But you think that's
consistency
the
isn't
same
there.
thing as what Daniel Jones did last year?
Well, I'm not saying that it's the same thing, but if I'm to take the last, let's say 3 years, right? Last year played great and then got injured. I'm not saying it's his fault or anything, but he got injured. We didn't have a full season of him. Number two, the season prior to that, he came onto the Vikings as a third stringer, for being honest, right? Or really second stringer because JJ McCarthy got hurt behind Sam Darnold. And I think he was more of like a mid-season acquisition. Prior to that, on the Giants, there really wasn't much to look at Daniel Jones and be like excited about. So if we're taking the last 3 seasons, he played half a year last year. He barely played at all with the Vikings, and he played kind of unspectacular football. And actually, before I even say that with his last season on the Giants, I'm gonna look it up just to be like positive about that last season with the Giants that he played in. And that was, yeah, he started 10 games, went 2-8, had a 63% completion percentage, 2,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Like again, did he play awesome in the games that he played last season with the Colts? Yes. Can I see him, or is that enough to tell me that the Colts have an 8-year starter? It's not. I have to see a full season from him with the Colts as they are now to be like, the Colts have a long-term starter. He has the potential. He's only 29, and he just turned 29 in May. So he has the potential to play another 11, 12 years if he really wants to. As long as he's, barring any injuries, he has the potential for a long-term quarterback. I just don't see it right now. I don't.
Yeah, I guess for me, I always say I get like looking at the last 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
but in my opinion, it's like if your highs are as high as he was
Kyle? Kyle. Damn. He was just about to say something so fucking smart. I'm positive. Hold on. Can't unmute. Their mic isn't connected. So Kyle, if you can hear me, your mic, it's saying that your mic isn't connected. But I guess just for me, it really like because I can't just take last year as can you go off of that? You know what I mean? It, I'm taking I think a pretty good chunk, and even let's go to 2023 because uh that was his second to last year with the Giants. Played 6 games, started 6 because of injuries. Went 1-5, 67% completion percentage, 909 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Last year has given me hope, absolutely, for Daniel Jones, and Jinja is saying too, like I gotta see it to believe it, because I bet you were excited. You're like, holy shit! I bet Jinja and other Colts fans were super excited to be like, Daniel Jones QB1 for the Colts. We're 8-5. Like, yeah, like that had to be sick. And I'm sure you guys were excited for that and were thinking that because Anthony Richardson clearly isn't working out. I just can't say with the information given or seen that, hey, this guy's a franchise quarterback. So I kind of just wanted to kind of end it with that. And we'll see if we get Kyle back here in a sec. But yeah, Kyle, if you can hear me, your mic isn't connected is what StreamYard is saying. Oh, let's see if we can unmute. Yeah, still mic is not connected, Kyle. Just a heads up to you. Yeah, 28 last year, just turned 29 in May. Still not connected, Kyle.
I was curious
There we go.
as to whether I could connect my headphones through Bluetooth so I could charge my phone.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Because currently my USB-C goes to this, and
Gotcha.
then I can't charge my phone. So I keep unplugging my headphones while you're talking to give it a little juice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I got it up to 6. I couldn't figure the
Nice.
Bluetooth out, but yeah, I mean,
You said I'm about to say something about Daniel Jones or something like that.
yeah,
And I was
yeah.
like, fuck, you cut off. And I was like, he was about to say something really good.
I went back and listened to you and I talking about Sam Darnold, and there's a lot of similarities between the conversation we're having right now.
Yep.
When the Vikings were like, "What do we do with Sam Darnold?" I was a big proponent in keeping Sam Darnold because he had just showed you 14 wins for one, but B, that he can run that offense at a high level. And,
Hmm.
um, you know, I guess the way I evaluate the quarterback position is I'm not so much interested in what's happened in the last 3 years. I want to see what is happening now. And
Totally.
I feel like with Sam Darnold, he went out there and he showed you like whatever happened in with the Jets, with the
Hmm.
Panthers, like this is what I'm capable of. I'm playing good ball. And I feel the same way with Daniel Jones last year. It's like I know that there's been moments where you're like, what a bum. And I know that it's like gonna take a long time. Like let's be real. Sam Darnold just won a Super Bowl. And in the last 2 years, no quarterback in the NFL has won more football games than him. And he's not even in people's top 12. So you talk about like old habits. I mean, what's it going to take for Sam Darnold to you make an appearance in the top 12? I mean,
Hmm.
because Joe Burrow's got 2 really good years, and we keep him number 2 overall. And
That's a good point.
those 2 years are a long time ago. But Sam Darnold's are the last 2. It's not even
Hmm.
like 2 out of the last 3. We're talking consecutive seasons. So, um, this whole thing I'm getting at is it takes once you make up your mind about a quarterback, whether it's out of the draft. I
Hmm.
mean, Brock Purdy, a very underrated quarterback in my opinion as well, because when he's playing with all of his weapons and Shanahan, like that dude is a baller, and he took his
Hmm.
team to the Super Bowl year 2, but year 1, I think he would have gone to the Super Bowl as well.
Hmm.
And because he was the last pick in the draft, people never talk about him as one of the elite quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And this is like going to take Daniel Jones. I don't know. He could win a Super Bowl this year with the Colts, and I don't think Daniel Jones would be considered top 12 next year. It would take so because it didn't work like that for Sam Darnold, and I know for a fact,
Yeah.
I saw Knicks outplay Josh Allen, and
Hmm.
that doesn't mean anything anymore. So it takes so much work to like change people's mind about a guy. All that to say, I accept that I'm gonna feel a certain way about Daniel Jones, but I refuse to let that drive the truth. I have to
Yeah. Yeah.
be willing to separate the idea of Daniel Jones from the reality of Daniel Jones. And what we saw last year, to me, it's like you can't get lucky in football at the quarterback position. You can you can have a great defense and just kind of find a way. Like we've seen quarterbacks do that, where it's like, which quarterback was in the Super Bowl? Uh, uh, what is it? Rex Grossman?
Yeah. Rex Grossman. Who is the Ravens quarterback who didn't do anything?
Oh yeah, I can't even remember his name. I know who
Yeah,
you're talking
not
about in
definitely
2000.
not. Yeah, not Flacco, but the other guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm not saying it's like impossible,
Eh,
but
yeah.
these quarterbacks we're talking about, they're having better than good seasons, and their team in some cases winning a Super Bowl, in other cases are 10-1 before the injury. So I don't believe you can play like a great game every
Hmm.
single week consecutively for 10 weeks and it can be luck. it's like that fever pitch line. You can either hit a curveball or you can't. And what's great to know about Daniel Jones is now we know that he can hit a curveball with the best of those in the NFL at his position, and he deserves a seat at the table. And there's nothing that he did in New York that can take it away, in my opinion. And to me, I think I'm being progressive with Daniel Jones. I think everyone would be right to jump on board because, and look, the only concern I have is the Achilles. To be,
Yeah,
you
but
know,
it's also this history of injuries is what
so what do you
scares me.
make of injury history? Because he had a terrible O-line in New York, and I don't know if like, do you believe in like what do you? Joe Burrow has an injury history, but people still rank him number 2 or 3 every year.
Yeah, and I think when we're talking, so let's say for example, we are talking about Joe Burrow and Daniel Jones. Sorry, there was one season where Daniel Jones was like, oh my God, with the Giants, right? Like he looked really, really good. He was running, he was rushing for touchdowns. He was passing for him. He was fast under Dable with the Giants. Like it looked really good. And then it was like injury, inconsistency, injury, inconsistency. With Joe Burrow, first year, his rookie season, injury, right? And it was like, oh no. The homecoming of this guy to the Bengals was just ruined. But what did he do the year after that? He went to the Super Bowl. He lost it, but he put up a really good fight against those Rams, right? Now, over the last few years, it's been injuries. But when he hasn't been injured, like 2 seasons ago, when him and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins were putting up stupid numbers offensively, that's what catapults and keeps him in those top fives. Whereas Daniel Jones, again, he's had one really good year, and he had one really, really good year last year taken away from him by injuries. It's just the consistency has never been there. Now, the parallels here is Joe Burrow is, I think, a little bit younger, if not about the same age, but two has proven it at a higher level.
I think
And
Jones is younger, ain't he?
I think you may be right because Daniel Jones is 29. I'm not sure how old Burrow is, but I think when we're paralleling the two, who's kept it more consistent when healthy? It's Joe Burrow all the way, man.
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
just he is the difference maker quarterback, whereas Daniel Jones, it's just been like, I know you said you're not necessarily looking at what happened with the Giants, but there was a lot of inconsistency there. What I will say is whatever happened with Dable, there is like a night and day difference between Dable and Steichen. Steichen was able to lock in with Daniel Jones and make him as good as he was last season. So I think there's a lot of connection there as well between Daniel Jones and Darnold, where they went from really bad situations and less than known offensive coordinators or offensive schemes to guys that actually know what to do with a quarterback like that. In Kevin O'Connell, in Shanahan when he was in San Francisco for that little bit, in Steichen, and now with Kubiak last year, Darnold when they won the Super Bowl, they move on to these guys who know what to do with quarterbacks like this, and they improve, and you see that, and it is a lot of credit to the coaches, but you cannot take any credit away from Darnold and Daniel Jones because it's like, oh, they took the time to learn the playbook, to learn the plays, to go through the motions, and to do what they do best, and that is be quarterback. With Joe Burrow, dude, Joe Burrow could go under any offensive coordinator, and he would be Joe Burrow. Like, let's be honest.
Same with Manning.
And same with, yeah, exactly. Same with Peyton Manning, same with your Tom Brady's, same with your Mahomes and even Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. You put any offensive coordinator with those guys, and they are who they are. Now, with Darnold and with Jones, I think they need just a better system, and you've seen what they do with a better system and a better offensive mind.
Do you think that's true, though? Because Mahomes is like 26th in points per game, 27th in yards per game without Eric Bieniemy. and like with Eric Bieniemy, he's first since being drafted. And it's like I understand like looking at the end of a career like a Manning and going, oh, he could have been like by the time he got to Denver, he could have been with anybody because he became an expert. But it's like if you go far enough back, like to the 80s, it's like the offense was simple. I mean, I was just talking to my uncle about this because he said maybe the greatest running back was the what's the one that the Kardashian defended in court?
Reggie Bush.
No, the Kim Kardashian.
Oh,
Her,
defended in court. Running
yeah,
back.
the murder in the Bronco.
Oh,
The
O.J. Simpson. Yes.
O.J. Simpson. So he was saying O.J. Simpson, and I was like, why? And he's like, look at he ran for over 2,000 yards, and I pull it up, and I'm like, they played the Patriots. I think this was in 1973. But they had like the worst run defense almost every week they played somebody. But not only that, I went to carries. Did you know that they used to give running backs 35, 39 carries a game?
Yeah. Oh, dude,
Like
the league in like the late 1900s was all about running the ball. Yeah.
I mean,
It's
like,
insane.
so for Saquon Barkley to get 2,000 yards, everybody's like, yeah, but they play an extra game. I say, yeah, but he has half the carries. And not only
Hmm.
that, the game now with like you could say it's not as physical because it's not. The
Hmm.
hitting is much more restricted. But if
Hmm.
you're just going off the complexity of schemes, how something can look one way at pre-snap and then the defense is doing something else,
Yep.
the amount of
Hmm.
if I give you a combination 5 digits and you could use 1 through 5, you could give me like 3,000 different ways to do it.
Hmm.
There's that same thing happening with 3-man, 4-man, and 5-man pressures. There's
Hmm.
so many different combinations now that are being executed at a high level. And
Hmm.
I don't think it's a coincidence that we're seeing this new era of football where Sam Darnold, um, Tannehill feels like the first one, but Daniel Jones, I'm starting to wonder if this is just the way the NFL is, where you come into the league, you get your ass kicked, you get valuable experience, and then you have a Malik Willis resurgence. Like
Yeah.
I expect Malik Willis to be good this year. I watched his film last year, or
Uh-huh.
yeah, last year. Like Malik Willis was making insane reads,
Hmm.
insane throws. I'm talking like his fifth progression type of read. I'm so impressed with what I saw from him, and I'm wondering, is the defense just so complex that like the days of rookies just coming into the league and like being amazing, even if you're Caleb Williams, the greatest prospect ever, he
Yeah.
still needed to get his ass kicked for a year. And you
Yeah.
could say, well, it's coaching. I think he just needed, I think the league's just really hard now, no matter what.
Hmm.
Um, and it was the same thing with Drake May, you
Hmm.
know. The only one that had success right away was Jaden Daniels and Bo
Hmm.
Nix. But isn't it weird that those are the two quarterbacks that, because of COVID, had the most college football experience of all time?
That's what I was going to say. The progression on all levels of football seemed to have improved from like the days of running backs getting however many carries or whatever, right? Like I totally agree where the progression on all levels from college to the NFL, like it is just vastly different than from college to the NFL was in like the 80s, right? Where running the ball and drafting running backs number 1 through 10 overall was like a home run move regardless. But yeah, dude, I really think that like the progression and how well executed and how more confusing or how confusing they look the schemes are getting in the NFL. It's true because the biggest thing that everyone talks about is like the West Coast offense, slinging the ball, right? Is like that's what you're seeing. You're seeing just variation after variation after variation of West Coast football. I mean, the forward pass wasn't invented until what, like the 60s or something like that, or like prior, whatever it was. So a lot of things have happened from that time to now, where we're getting where you're saying like these guys are coming in pretty damn well prepared. Yes, do some of them have to get their asses kicked in terms of quarterbacks, running backs, whatever? Sure, but I think as you kind of progress in your career, you're like, oh yeah, no, I'm starting to get it.
Yeah.
And you know, in regards to Daniel Jones and Darnold, like maybe there are certain coaches during their time with their former teams where maybe they weren't necessarily the best schemes. Maybe kind of like Nagy with Trubisky and with Justin Fields, he was trying to form them into his scheme instead of working his scheme around them, which I think is like the biggest thing as a coordinator or a coach that you have to do. You got to play to your strengths. You can't
Yeah.
try to make your weaknesses play into your coach's strengths. You've got to play to your players' strengths and create something around that, whether it be defense, offense, special teams, what have you. That's what the coaches have to do. And I think personally, what I've seen from Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones going to Steichens, going to Shanahan's and O'Connell's and Kubiak's, those systems worked because those guys know exactly what the hell they're doing with Daniel Jones and Darnold.
So you think that's all? I mean, I get it. That's a huge part of it. But I remember with Tannehill, like, and I see like Crafty's saying like, well, this happened in the past too. I'm not saying that there weren't quarterbacks that got drafted, were asked for 4 years, and then had, oh my God, I get it, light bulb moment, and now they're great. I'm just saying, like, it's starting to feel like it's becoming the norm. Like, even Baker Mayfield, I mean, he went from Cleveland to Carolina, then he got thrown away.
Yeah.
Like, now he's a franchise quarterback, and it's like we can't even remember that about him.
Mm-hmm.
And you just go down the list, and you're like, oh, well, maybe. And of course, getting drafted to the worst team, the most dysfunctional organization, is always what happens to the best quarterbacks, because those were the teams that lost all their games the year before.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of this has to do with a quarterback failing and then going into a better situation with a functional team.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it's that the same thing I was saying about Cam Ward, where it's like last year was so difficult, they couldn't do anything right, and now this year is going to feel a lot easier because the defense is going to be better, the offensive line is going to be better, the receivers will be better, and it's like, wow, maybe that's a part of what's helping these quarterbacks as well, is going to another team and everything's better. Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
seems like it's like a lot of these quarterbacks that we're talking about are coming from the same places. Cam Ward, Malik Willis, Tennessee. You got Baker Mayfield in Cleveland, Sam Darnold, and who is the other Jet quarterback with the Jets? Like, we're talking about really the same 5 organizations that keep drafting quarterbacks, can't develop them, send them away, and then Carolina's the other one where Sam Darnold played for the Jets and Carolina. They both couldn't figure him out. So I don't know if it's like just me, but I feel like there's something happening in the league right now where that whole, like, the Tannehill Award, what I love that you call it that, but it seems like when we did that podcast where you said that, it seemed like a rarity. Like, that is something that may not be able to even be given every year. And now I feel like every year there'll be somebody to give it to.
Yeah, and you, again, this is kind of why I think the coordinators and the coaches and the coaching staff really have a lot to do with the Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones success, as well as like your Tannehill, right?
Geno.
Your Geno's kind of with
Seattle.
with Seattle that one year. But again, the credit also has to go to the player too. Like you said, like Joe Burrow to me, and this is one of the reasons why I think Joe Burrow is also going to be a top 5 quarterback, regardless of injury history, unlike other players, namely who we're discussing with Daniel Jones, is because Joe Burrow has that it factor too, where he knows I have Jamar Chase. I've got T. Higgins over here. I'm Joe Burrow. If I even get it in their fucking vicinity of Jamar Chase's reach, it's probably going to get caught by him. And I feel like something that's happening, and I think Crafty mentioned this earlier with CJ Stroud, is he's getting a little gun shy. And that's what I was saying to him. Like last season, that's kind of what I saw from CJ Stroud whenever I would watch Texans games. I think that the best quarterbacks know who their best players are, how to get it to them. Whereas your guys like Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold maybe take a little more time to do that, or just don't have the players and coordinators and coaching staff in place to give them that confidence. Whereas Joe Burrow has been doing it since day one. Josh Allen took him a couple of years. Patrick Mahomes basically has been doing it since day one, right? Like there's guys like this who I'm going to get it to him. Fuck it. Justin Jefferson's down there somewhere. Tyreek Hill's down there somewhere. Who did I just say?
Justin Jefferson.
No, from the Bengals.
Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase is down there somewhere, right? Like these are guys that know. I know my abilities and I know the abilities of my guys, and like sometimes you need somebody when you're not a Joe Burrow, when you're not a Patrick Mahomes, you need somebody to give you that confidence. Maybe
Tyler Warren's out there somewhere.
Tyler Warren's down there somewhere. I'm gonna launch this mother. But I think Steichen gave Daniel Jones kind of that confidence. Whereas Dable, I feel like, is just an asshole and just yells all the time. Where he's kind of like more of an OG coach, right? Like
Going into the concussion tent, like
yeah.
This will never not bother me. Like somebody's getting evaluated for a concussion and you're just like in there, like, can you go back in? It's like, this is between the player and the doctor, you fucking idiot. Get out.
Idiot, yeah. So really all of this to say that, I think I've got the Jags repeating as division champions. All of this Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold conversation to say Jags are winning the division this year in the AFC South.
It's fair. And I do think that the Daniel Jones conversation needed to happen at some point.
Oh yeah,
and
100%.
What better, it's most relevant in this episode. So this is tough.
I know. I just think Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence, that marriage, head coach quarterback, is just too good. It's too good.
The other thing though that I'm not with Jacksonville is they were, I think, 26th in sacks. Very bad at getting pressured.
Yep. Trayvon Walker last season was the first season he didn't have double-digit sacks the last 3 years. So,
and I mean, I'm gonna go. It's to me. I'm gonna go with the Texans as the division winner. I mean, you got the best defense. I mean, this defense. They're not only great; they're violent. They're the type of defense that doesn't really exist in this NFL anymore. They're so good that all the offense needs to do is be mediocre. And I happen to think they're going to be better than that. I think that whenever a new offensive caller comes in, he goes, hey, I know you guys been running the ball, running it this way, but now we're going to do this zone scheme thing. And I know none of you guys know how to do it, but we're going to do it. Look, you were just saying how bad an idea that is. But now year 2, I feel like the players really got a grasp on what they're being asked to do.
Hmm.
And but last year, later in the season, it's like the players understood what they were asked to do, but they couldn't execute. I
Yeah,
mean,
and the offensive line was trash still. That's a big factor.
so I like the O line. I like the fact that Woody Marks has all this experience, and now they're just going to ask him to be a sub. You know, I
Yeah.
like I like David Montgomery has an opportunity. I like it seems like this is the first time in a long time since he was in Chicago and they let him go
Hmm.
that Montgomery's going to really get a chance to be like, I know I was overshadowed by Gibbs every
Hmm.
Sunday,
Hmm.
but I'm a top 5 running back in my own right. And if you're telling me that that defense is going to be paired with a even top 10 running game,
Hmm.
which I do believe they're going to have a top 10 running game, and then adding on that CJ Stroud, and all of a sudden now you're not asking so much. Tank Dell and Nico Collins and Schultz can be on the field at the same time. I'm always going to make my predictions predicting fully healthy rosters. Now,
Hmm.
if these guys get hurt, obviously my predictions change. But in this prediction, these guys are all healthy. The Texans are a team that people are like, how did we not realize they were this good in the offseason? And I think you could blink and they're 10-0 type of good.
I I know where you're coming from. The offensive line has improved. David Montgomery is a much more capable RB1. And again, if you're looking at this roster fully healthy, Nico Collins and Tank Dell are a good number 1 and 2 receiver.
Yeah.
They're just a really good duo. The biggest factor is even with the fully healthy CJ Stroud, are we going to get rookie year CJ Stroud or are we getting progressively worse CJ Stroud who,
But like
given the
I
last
said, it
2
was
years,
so
it's bad.
unfair to judge him last year. Top 5 most injured receivers, top 5 most injured tight end group, no running back. Nick Chubb and Woody Marks, because their whole plan was Mixon. He didn't play a snap. So I don't know how we can fairly even. I think we should take last year and do what we did for Trevor Lawrence when Urban Meyer was getting stinky finger at the bar. And we were like, did anybody go, well, is Trevor Lawrence, playoff Trevor Lawrence?
I think we did give him that benefit of
We
the
gave
doubt
it,
though.
and it was unanimous. Like,
It
we
was,
all
yeah.
did it. Jags
The
fans, not Jags fans, we all said that
Mhm.
we can't even judge that year. I feel that way about the Texans last year because of the you have to do a little deep dive, because if you don't, it's easy to get caught up in emotion like I did. And I was like, took me a whole afternoon to ask myself, why was CJ Stroud bad? And
Yeah,
then there were answers everywhere.
but I also think like from because Slowick was his offensive coordinator 23, 24, and then last year was Nick Caley, who's going to be the offensive coordinator this year as well. For me, it's how progressively bad CJ Stroud has gotten from his rookie year. And I'm not saying it's just fallen off, but again, going back to Crafty's comments and to what I saw with my own eyes whenever I'd watched the Houston Texans last year, the gun shyness was there. The inaccuracy was there. And to not be consistent for 3 seasons, from his rookie season into his second and third year, I don't know, man. I think that's a pretty big red flag for me. Now, again, I take into consideration the offensive line and the injuries. Tank Dell has been injured for for his first 2 NFL seasons. Nico Collins has been there for the most part. Like I would say for like 85% of his games, he's been there and he's caught 1,000 yards, whether it is in 10 games or whether it's in 16, 17. It's just CJ Stroud. It looks like a little bit shaky. And I think that's why people, referring to your earlier comment, why more people are like, yeah, I think I'm taking Bryce Young over CJ Stroud right now, if you ask me, because
But
because I think Bryce Young is having that kind of like step by step with
Yeah.
this
He's
guy. I
ascending.
forget his coach. Yeah, he's ascending. Whereas CJ Stroud is looking worse and worse
I,
year by year.
I get that, but at the same time, we have to ask ourselves, is it more possible that CJ Stroud in 3 years became a bad quarterback from a good quarterback? Or when they had Laramie Tunsil and a solid offensive line, and CJ Stroud was so calm in the pocket. Like his rookie year, he would just stand there. He looked like a vet. Do you remember how confident and calm he was in the pocket
I,
his rookie year?
I just remember how really good he was. I don't
He
remember a
he
lot.
his The thing that I remember the most about Stroud was him being abnormally calm in dropbacks. Like he had been here for, this was his 10th season or something. And then last year I was counting 2 seconds to throw the ball. 3 seconds they let
Mhm.
Tunsil go. I don't think they were, the combination of the new offensive line scheme they were running and letting Tunsil go, the whole
That
thing
was
was a
rough.
disaster.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, he was a little gun shy, but it's like, if I told you you got 3 seconds to get rid of the ball. Oh, and by the way, your receivers and tight ends are not going to get any separation. And if you don't get rid of the ball, you're going to take a sack, and then you're going to be the idiot for holding onto the ball. It's just a bad situation. So I'm like, did he lose his confidence, or did the offensive line get terrible? I mean, to me, it's so like, I think we have to lean and trust what we saw his rookie year. And if the offensive line's better and these guys aren't healthy and he's still playing like that, I will jump ship and be like, hey, shit happens. Like sometimes
Mhm.
you have a really good rookie year and then you never really touch glory again. But for me, I'm gonna have to wait and see what what you're basically saying. I'm gonna need to see it
Mhm.
behind a good old line, because I understand full and well why he looked the way he did last year. I just am not ready to say there was no reason. Like I'm not willing to say that in better circumstances he would still default to that play style.
No, and I agree, which is one of the reasons why when we were talking about Daniel Jones and Darnold, I was like, I think the coordinators, I think the coaches, I think the scheme was to their advantage. Whereas with Stroud, yeah, I totally agree. There's no offensive line. Nico Collins and Tank Dell having their issues, although again, Nico Collins has been there, but not necessarily an amazing run game. Not necessarily a bunch of playmakers across the board, right? But again, with Daniel Jones and Darnold, don't take anything away from the player. In this case, it's the same thing that applies to CJ Stroud. You can't take anything away from him, but you're going to hold him responsible for his play as well.
You mean like in New York Giants and stuff?
No, I'm talking about more so Daniel Jones and Darnold now when they were
Because
with
they the
good coordinators and good schemes.
well, I mean, isn't that kind of my whole example? Because like the Colts have one of the best offensive lines in the league. They got
Mm-hmm.
the best running back in the league. They got arguably that, and then on Seahawks they have JSM.
Mm-hmm.
They have a solid O line and one of the best defenses in the NFL. And it's like I don't think CJ Stroud has what those guys had last year.
Totally agree. What I'm saying is when a quarterback's bad,
Oh, you're saying when it's good they get credit, so when it's bad they have to take credit too.
exactly, it's responsibility across the board regardless of result.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess is what I'm saying. To sum it
I,
up, in one line. Yeah.
I do think he has to take responsibility. I'm with you on that. I
Mm-hmm.
just, as far as predicting a new season, I don't think him taking responsibility for a bad season last year is you know is basically meaning his ceiling is like not as high now.
Totally. And look, what I'm doing right now is exactly what coaches, media were doing to Tannehill, to Sam Darnold, to Daniel Jones, to Baker Mayfield that 1 year in Carolina, or after that 1 year in Carolina. Totally understand that. I just think like progressively so far year per year, it's been bad for CJ Stroud. And I don't necessarily think that it's going to get like increasingly better because he is under the same play caller as last year. And even his first 2 years in the league, it was Bobby Slowick. It was the same guy. So there's consistency there so far in his first 4 years, or at least going into his fourth year, there's going to be consistency in terms of OC. But I totally get where you're coming from. He's got an improved offensive line. He's got a couple more. He's got better playmakers, I guess, is what you would say with David Montgomery, right? In terms of the running game. If CJ Stroud goes out there and looks his rookie year and even better, then yeah, I will eat that. I will raise my hand and be like, I was wrong about the Texans, because if he can go back to even just like you said, average level quarterback play, if he could be a top 16 quarterback, dude, the Texans are winning the division because that defense is just nasty. But I got to go with Trevor Lawrence because he's at least, through all of his faults, through all of Trevor Lawrence's faults, he looked really good under Liam Cohen. He's been the more consistent quarterback. Yes, he's had some up and down from season to season, but it's not like it's been Daniel Jones type of up and down where it's like, oh yeah, his highs were super high, but his lows were super low. I just kind of like that head coach quarterback combo. Second, I am going to go Texans. Third, I'm going Colts, and then fourth, Titans. But what I will say is Colts and Texans, that's going to be a close 2 and 3. And really, if I'm being totally honest, it could be a toss up between the two. I'm giving the edge to the Texans because their defense is it's just a force, man. It is just a force. And while you said I'm taking the better defense over a better offense earlier, like you were saying with the Texans, I've got to go with the offense here in Liam Cohen and believing that him and Trevor Lawrence are going to just take another step, not necessarily regress either. But yeah, the Texans, average quarterback play from CJ Stroud, average offensive play from this team, and they'll win the division for sure.
At number 2, I have the Titans.
Yeah, shut up. Get out. I want you to go and clock out right now and leave.
I'm going with the Titans at number 2. I think Cam Ward is going to have a great year. I think their defense is going to be stout, very good.
Yeah.
I think people are really sleeping on how good their defense is going to be. I think if their 4th overall pick works out and Calvin Ridley has, a bounce back year, and there's something about a 4th overall rookie in the building that makes you want to, go out and play. Like, hey, you know how it is when you're 30. You're like, I'm not.
I wish I was 30 again.
But you've been 30. You've been 30.
Oh, I'm in my 30s, baby. Oh yeah, hell yeah.
I'm 32, and I still feel like I'm 30. Like, but I'm just saying, I think this is going to be healthy competition for Calvin Ridley, who is also a very high draft pick, and I think he's going to want to show the new guy, like, you got a lot of learning to do. You're still a rookie, and I think this is good for Calvin Ridley. I really do think with Saleh and Dable both in Tennessee,
it's a huge
that
jump.
I think the floor is really high. And with Jacksonville, on the other hand, I do see a scenario where Jacksonville and the Colts finish with around 7 wins.
Ooh,
And
okay.
I think the reason is because this division's so tough. I don't know how to predict, 3 teams all winning 10, 11 games.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not ready to do it because of the Achilles for Daniel Jones. I love, like, if Daniel Jones by week 2 is like playing like he was last year, then I'm going to be like, the Colts can win the division. And actually, let's redo it. I got the Colts winning the division. No, I probably would still go with the Texans because of the defense, but let's just say it would be so close that it would be irrelevant. Kind of
Yeah,
like the Broncos, Chargers, and Chiefs the last couple of years. It's like, well, whoever you have at 3 doesn't mean that they're more than 2 games away from 1. It
for
just
sure.
means that's where you have them landing because you got to pick. And I think that's how I look at the AFC South. But I do think with the kind of the Colts and Jags in a similar tier for me. I think the Titans could be a very sneaky. I had the Patriots last year as my sneaky good team. I remember on our predictions,
Mhm.
everyone laughing in my face. Um, they went to the
Except
Super
that
Bowl,
one, except that one
except
Patriots
that
fan that
one
we had.
Patriots fan, which doesn't count. Let's be
Mhm.
real.
Mhm.
Um, but no, like I really think I don't think Tennessee is going to compete for a Super Bowl, but I think Cam Ward's going to look really good. I think he's going to. The Pro Bowl is not happening anymore, but if it
Yeah.
was happening, I think he will be a Pro Bowler this year.
Oh, I
I
like it.
think I think he's going to emerge as like one of like these guys in the league, and it's either going to be that or it's going to be terrible. Like
Like
I
fourth
don't
place in the division bad? Yeah, I get you.
I don't see like a middle, like it either
Yeah.
is like working really well or it's like too many cooks in the kitchen. And
Yeah.
I don't know what it's going to be. You got a lot of head coaches in that building now.
Yep.
And I feel the same way about the Chargers. Like on paper, Mike McDaniels and Jim Harbaugh, it's a great thing, but it's also like a lot of personality in the
Mhm.
building. So,
Mhm. I feel that.
let's just say just to spice it up, all right? I'm gonna go with uh I'm gonna go with the Texans winning the division with
Mhm.
12 to 13 wins.
Okay.
Then I'm gonna go with the Tennessee Titans. I'm also considering Jacksonville's difficult schedule because they came in first place last
Totally.
year.
Totally.
And then I'm gonna go with Tennessee. Easy schedule, easier considering they were last.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm gonna put them in second at. I'm gonna call it 10-7,
Mhm. Okay. Yeah.
and then I'm gonna go a 3-way tie. Or I'm sorry, a 2-way tie for third place at 9-8 for the Colts in
Ooh, okay.
Jacksonville.
So everybody with a winning record in this division. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. I like it. I like it. Yeah, so you've got the Texans followed by the Titans and then a tie between the Colts and the Jaguars for third place. I have got the Jags. I've got the Jags in first place, the Texans second, Colts third, but it's going to be really close between the Colts and the Texans, and then the Tennessee Titans fourth. Guys, that was our AFC South prediction. Thank you guys for being here, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. But yeah, I mean, I like it. I like where you're at, dude. I like the bump that the Titans get from Salah and from Dable at basically at head coach, defense coordinator, and then at offensive coordinator. I do like that bump. I do think they're well on their way to becoming who they were in the late 2010s with Vrabel. I really do think so.
and my X factor is simple. This is the last year they're ever gonna play in this stadium they're in right now.
Oh,
And
right, right.
I think they're going to want to leave on a good note. And to Ginger's point, like I said, in any quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, if you tear your Achilles, specifically the Achilles, the next year, I am going to bet on regression.
Hmm.
And I hope every year I'm wrong. I just haven't seen anybody come back the next year from Achilles and look like they looked. Any good quarterback playing at the level Daniel Jones was playing at, I've never seen him come back the next year play at that same level. It's always year 2, and
Hmm.
sometimes late in that year back, like the last 2 weeks of the season. So if Daniel Jones does change this and there is just rapid healing in his body, then I have no problem taking the Colts to be a playoff team and try to get the 1 or 2 seeds. So
Yeah.
like that's pretty much all coming down to the Achilles injury.
Yeah, we'll see, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see week 1, and just kind of beyond. Those first few weeks of the season are really, really important to tell how injuries are going for people. But
Especially because he hasn't played in any preseason. I
exactly,
have
yeah,
nothing to go off of,
joint practices is about it. Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for everyone who's here. Crafty, Jinja, appreciate it. Thanks for all the comments. We really appreciate your guys' insights and things like that to kind of help the show move along. So that was our AFC South predictions. Tune in next week. We're gonna try to get as many more divisions as possible within the next couple weeks, prediction wise. And then, Kyle, we're 2 weeks away from football, dude. We're
Stop
2
it.
weeks.
Stop it.
We're 2 weeks, baby. Football's back. I mean,
Do you know
football's here.
Plays on Monday night, week 1.
Monday night, week 1. I don't remember who it is. I know that the Seahawks opened the season on Wednesday. I just don't know who the first Monday night game is. Oh wait, that's the Broncos, isn't it?
Burr, burr,
Boom,
burr,
boom,
burr.
boom, 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 boom. You get this year Monday Night Football, and I got last year, dude. It's like it's just the
We're
connection.
connected.
We're connected. We're connected.
Our
At the
teams
tip.
are connected. Oh, and by the way, I heard on ESPN somebody. It was no. It was who's I always call him my dad, the bald guy. He was on.
SVP
Um,
or Colin Coward.
no. He's Rich Eisen.
Rich Eisen, yeah.
Rich Eisen predicted, I believe it was Rich Eisen, the Broncos and Bears to meet in the Super Bowl.
Oh shit!
And
that would tear this podcast apart.
dude, I was watching that and I was like, okay, now this is getting too real.
It's getting too real. I think because of all the connections we've made as being a part of this show, that's going to be an eventuality, and it's going to happen in our lifetime, dude. It's going to be a Broncos Bears Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, I don't know what we'll do.
Caleb Williams versus Jarrett Stidham in the Super Bowl.
That's too soon.
Too soon. Well, thank you guys again. Thank you guys again, Ginger Crafty, for being here. We appreciate everything. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on X. There we go. Kyle's got it. At Only Football Pod and at NFL with Kyle. Thank you guys again so much for being here. We appreciate all the comments, all the likes. Thank you guys again. And Kyle, always a good time, brother.
Always a good time.